she says, well, why don't you come over to my apartment in Greenwich Village and we'll go over Das Kapital. And I was like,
Welcome to This Is Not Happening. I'm your host, Roy Wood Jr. Think about your best friend, your spouse, your partner. You spend enough time with anybody, they are going to annoy you. They'll never truly get you, which is why I came up with a solution. You're my soulmate,
This
bro.
is my favorite video game.
Are you my friend and my daddy? No, not yet. No. A pee-pee. You can hear him on his podcast, Pep Talks. Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Pepitone.
my story is the story of the deflowering of me. The deflowering of me, and people are already rubbing their heads going, oh, fuck. And no, but it happened in 1977. I was about 19 years old, and it was with my college professor history teacher. So, you know, it was hot. It was really hot and fucked up. Hot and fucked up, and that basically describes the young me. Now it's just fucked up and not hot. But if you could picture it, it was 1977. Jimmy Carter was president. Son of Sam was running around. It's in New York. It's in New York, the only place really that matters. So it was in the United States anyway. I had just had a nervous breakdown in another college, Fordham University. And so then I went to the College of Staten Island. And I went to this history class, and the woman teaching it was extremely attractive. But the thing that really attracted me to her most was her politics. Like, she was teaching a class in revolutions and capitalism. The book we were using was Das Kapital by Friedrich Engels and Karl Marx. And I was super into that, and she would just talk about revolutions that went on throughout Europe, you know, like you should have seen her talk about the storming of the Bastille. It was, and I was so hot, and I think the moment I fell in love with her was when she was talking about, I don't know if any of you remember this, probably not, but if you're students of history, probably not. That's just the way people are these days, but she was talking about the uprising in the Polish shipyards, and it was led by a guy named Lech Walesa, and it was something about the way she was saying the name Lech Walesa, and just like these workers rising up, and the reason I loved it so much is that my dad was a union leader, and he was a union leader for the teachers, he was a union leader with Albert Shanker, and he gave me a book when I was a young kid called The Rich and the Super Rich, and it was all about how the rich are fucking us, and I was so into that. I don't know about you, but I love to fucking figure out like the society we live in, and now the rich really are, like they were fucking us back then, but now it's just they've drugged us, they have us in a trunk, they're fucking us, they're making us dig our own graves, but I was on top of that shit. I've been railing about that shit. Everybody's late to the party. Everybody now that Trump is president is like, what's going on? It's been going on forever. It's been going on forever. I mean, they stormed the bed. They fucking killed the monarchs in France. There's been revolutions all over, and there will be one here eventually. But that's not the story. So I was so into her because like, I read The Rich and the Super Rich, and my dad gave it to me, and he was like, they're fucking you, Ed. And I thought he was trying to deflect the bad parenting from him and my mother. Like, no, I think you're fucking me. Because my family was the Cirque du Soleil of dysfunctionality. It was unfucking believable. Just fucking on the trapeze of fucking, neuroses. It was so fucked up. And since I could hardly relate to my... What's the matter, you fuck? Since I could hardly... What was that look? Even though it's being taped for TV, I'm just a comic, and when I see... What was that shit? Oh my God. I'm sorry. Have whatever reaction you want. Just know it's gonna be met with extreme hostility. But I do mean I overreacted. See, I'm glad you saw that. Because that is how I've been conditioned. My father was always like, who fucking left? And this was the tone he used. Who touched the thermostat? And I'd be like, Father, I'm in the family. The way I jumped on you. So anyway, I was in her class, and this woman, by the way, she spoke 4 fucking languages. I'm from Brooklyn. We lived in Staten Island. Basically, I knew how to grunt. You know what I mean? Like, I was into the rich and the super rich, like finding out how they fucked us, but I was like, what the fuck? This woman, I would be in the back. She spoke 4 languages. She spoke Serbo-Croatian, French, German, and English, right? And I was like, what the fuck? She's beautiful. She speaks 4 languages. I had no idea she was into me. I was making eyes at her. But when she went on about Lech Walesa and the Polish shipyard uprising, I was like, unfucking believe. And so I would ask her questions after class just to fucking look at her. I'd be like, I don't understand feudalism. And what's this about the workers are making surplus capital for the men who own the means of production, and they're using that surplus capital to further enslave them? Tell me, what does it mean? And she goes to me out of the blue. She says, well, why don't you come over to my apartment in Greenwich Village and we'll go over Das Kapital. And I was like, Now you also have to picture me. And this may be hard. Life hadn't beaten the shit out of me yet. Like, I had a full head of hair. I was a bike messenger in Manhattan, and so I looked way better than Kevin Bacon did in Quicksilver. I was just like fucking tight, Now, it's a different story now. This was pre-Prozac. It was pre a lot of things. I was just like, but I was animalistic. And when she said to me, come over to my apartment in Greenwich Village, I was still like, I didn't know she wanted to fuck me. I was like, this is very nice of her. This is very nice of her to... And so, but I was still so kind of intimidated by her, but really, really into her. And I'll never forget, I was waiting for her on one of these beautiful, Greenwich Village, beautiful little European streets, tree-lined, beautiful brownstones, nothing like in LA. And it's no character out here. It's like, Los Feliz, go fuck yourself. So I remember waiting for her in front of her apartment. I got there early, which was typical of the relationship that ensued. Like, I was always like the guy who was like, where are you? Where are you? So I was in front of her. I was in front of her door, and she came down the street, and she had a fucking beret on. I'm like, a beret. I come from Staten Island, where people only communicate by hitting each other with bats. That's how they say I love you. Just like, bam! Ah! She had a beret on, and then to top it off, sticking out of the grocery bag, and I kid you not, were baguettes. I'm like, baguettes! Baguettes! And, you know, she comes out and she goes, hi. And I'm like, And we go up into her apartment. I'm like just thinking, we're gonna read Das Kapital. And she's like, you know, would you like, you know, some French dish she had made? And I was like, okay. And then we lay down on her carpet and we're reading Das Kapital. She's pointing out different paintings to me, like, oh, this is Paul Klee, a German expressionist painter. I'm like, holy shit, what did I walk into? There's nothing like this on Staten Island. And then we're reading Das Kapital, and then she turns to me after about, I don't know, half hour of it. Who the fuck? No, I couldn't, our bodies would touch. She goes to me, do you want to smoke a joint? And I still am like, well, this must be another teaching technique, you know. And I was a big pothead back then, so I was like, yeah, okay. So we smoked a joint, and I don't know if you guys know, but like after I got high, it all hit me. I was like, in my head, I'm like, she wants to fuck me! Like, you know when you get high and you just, like all the shit you were pushing away, like it can't be this, it can't be this. It just was. I was like, and then I just froze. I was just like, and so we got high, and then she just started kissing me, and that was the end of that. And then we made animalistic love. As I already told you, I looked like way better than Bacon and Quicksilver. Just, there was blood flying all over the place. You know, I was Stanley Kowalski with a little bit of knowledge of how the workers were getting screwed. And so then we started this ill-fated, like just it was so ill-fated. It should have been a one-night stand, but it wound up going on and off for 6 years because, I know. That is so funny. And it was just like that, too. I was the little femme fatale bimbo who had nothing to talk about, and she was super fucking busy. She had a kid from another marriage, this beautiful little girl, and I was always like, who are you looking at? What are you doing? What do you mean you have to go to a conference at the new school? I want to get high with you and fuck. What do you mean? What do you mean you're going to Paris for a conference on the Nobel Laureates? God damn it! Touch my penis! I have nothing to live for but you. I was so into her. And she would take me to these parties where people are speaking different languages and they're talking about just all kinds of historical things. And I just felt like I was in a museum, like watching these people. And after they would talk, they would go, Eddie, what are you doing? I go, I could put bread in water. See the bread get bigger? And then, and it was horrible on campus too, because I was on camp. By the way, I did get an A that year in that course. Totally aced it, but you know, there was one day where I like came up to her and I grabbed her hand on campus, and she was like, "Don't hold hands with me on campus," and I was fucking crushed. And I couldn't take it anymore. I just walked into her class one time. I had already, you know, finished with her class. I walked into her class. I just, you know, it was just like she just wasn't into me the way I was into her. It shouldn't have been. You know, she was like 40. I was like 20. You know, I had nothing to talk about. And I was just like, I walked into her class while she was teaching, and I was like, it's over! It's over! It's while she was teaching. students like, what the fuck? And then I just left college. I walked right out of college, and because of that bitch, I never got a degree. Thanks, everybody.
Pepitone.